What's going on, everyone? Good afternoon. It's actually evening here. Thought I would do one more video before I go back to work next week. I'm a teacher, as some people know, so I'm off in the summer. So I've had a chance to do some videos. I will definitely be slowing down starting next week because everything kicks into full gear. So thought I'd do one more. One thing, if you do follow the channel, you're going to learn is I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I read The Hobbit back when I was in grade 6. One of my favorite books ever. Read The Lord of the Rings shortly after. As I said, I'm a teacher. I teach The Hobbit every year, so I've read the book like 100 times. I always reread The Lord of the Rings every summer because it's one of my favorite series. I've watched all the movies. I collect anything for Lord of the Rings. So I thought I'd split these videos into two parts. One, video games. Two, collectibles. Just because there's too much stuff. So I own almost every Lord of the Rings game ever made. I'm missing a couple. And I'll show those ones, pictures of those ones, as the video goes through. When I decided to get all the Lord of the Rings games, I actually thought it wasn't hard. There's really nothing rare for the Lord of the Rings. They're all relatively common games. I did play them all, so I'll give sort of my input on whether or not I like them or not. And what you're going to find is the same games were released cross-system. So, you have games on the GameCube, Xbox, PS2, they're all the same. But we'll go through a little bit of history and we'll go from there. So the first game that I came across when I was going through my searching is a game for the Atari 2600 called Journey to Rivendell. And I looked up some gameplay online, but then I found the game was never released, so you can't actually buy it. There are reproduction cards out there. They're very uncommon. I don't have one, and I'm not really wanting it because it was never an official release. So I don't actually count the Atari 2600 version as part of the collection. I should probably also note I'm not including PC games here because there is tons of Lord of the Rings PC games. I'm just sticking to console games. So that being said, with the Atari 2600 game out of the way, the first official Lord of the Rings game came out on the Super Nintendo, and I have that one here, and it's actually titled J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings Part 1, or Volume 1. Sorry, I'm assuming there were expecting to be more, but they never came out with them. So I have the game in a nice protective case. I don't collect box Super Nintendo games. I don't collect box really anything. So this is actually one of the rare boxes I own. When I first got the game, it didn't have the manual. So I actually went online and waited for a cheap one to come up, and I think I got it for a few bucks. It's not in great shape, but it's still the manual there. Now the game I actually keep on my rack because I don't display boxes in my collection, as you'll see when I do a collection video for Super Nintendo. So the game just kind of sits nicely inside the case, and or sorry, I should say the game sits on my gaming shelf, and the manual and the box sit in a nice display case. I used to actually have them displayed behind me. You'll see these are actually Lord of the Rings puzzles, VHSs, collectibles. I had all my Lord of the Rings games there. I'll post a picture right here, but recently I decided to convert this wall into, I'm going to be converting it to another gaming shelf. So unfortunately all the Lord of the Rings games are just put with their regular spots with the regular consoles they go with, because I was finding it hard to display these games, and you'll see when you look at the picture, they were actually really hard to they fell over a lot. I didn't have a great shelf for them. Whenever my kids were playing down here and they jump or something, a couple of them would fall. It just became really annoying. So my thoughts on this game are, I don't like it. It's the first part where I believe you're Frodo, and you're going around fighting wolves or whatever. It's very hard. Like, it's not a game I really enjoy. The graphics aren't very good for the Super Nintendo, and I don't like it. It's not a fun game. I wouldn't recommend it at all. Personal opinion. I know there are people who love the game. That being said, we have a long break now. There's nothing on the N64. There's nothing on the PlayStation 1. There's nothing on any of the other consoles at the time, whether it be TurboGrafx, Jaguar, nothing. There was nothing. So we don't get another appearance until we have the Xbox, PS2, GameCube generation of consoles, and we get a bunch of releases. Now, this is not surprising because this is around the time of the Peter Jackson movies. There was a resurgence of for Lord of the Rings. People were now picking it up again, and casual people were playing the games. So we'll start with the GameCube. Now, the GameCube had 4 releases, and interestingly enough, the GameCube did not release a game based on the Fellowship. They went right to the Two Towers, and here is the GameCube version of the Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. My copy is complete in case. It's not an uncommon game, very easy to find. These games play the same whether they're on the Xbox or the PS2. I find them generally pretty fun. The graphics are good. They are generally hack and slash type games, which is generally the theme for almost all of them. There are some strategy ones that we'll talk about, but I didn't mind it. It wasn't a bad game. Too many. You must defend. Then they went to the next one, which is logical, The Lord of the Rings and The Return of the King. And of course, my copy is also complete in case. And that was really important for me to get these games all complete in case. Personally, I like the Two Towers better, but it's not a bad game. It's essentially the same type of game. Just, again, personal opinion. Then they went to another one, which is The Lord of the Rings and the Third Age. This was actually a 2-disc one. There it is there. And again, my thoughts on this one are very similar. This one is, again, the gameplay is similar in all these. There's really nothing to discuss. There's going to be some footage up in the corner here, so expect to see a little bit of what the games look like. Now, at the same time, they also released a very separate game called The Hobbit. Now, The Hobbit was different because this game was released by Sierra, not EA Games like the other three. So this one's way more cartoony. Personally, I didn't like it. It's more of an adventure game. There's hack and slash elements to it. Again, there will be gameplay up in the corner here. Take a peek. But again, I didn't like this on any of the consoles. Again, personal opinion. Just my thoughts. Okay, so at the same time, the PS2 releases essentially the same library of games, so we're not going to discuss them in any detail. However, they actually went ahead and released the first one, which was the Fellowship of the Ring. Again, these are all common games. You should be able to pick them up for anywhere from $3 to $5, depending on where you find them. Again, I actually like the graphics a bit better on the PS2 than I did on the GameCube. I found the gameplay a little smoother as well. But that's just my opinion. Exact same game as released on the GameCube, the Two Towers. Again, very common games. You can find them generally anywhere. I'm not going to discuss these anymore because, again, that's the problem with the Lord of the Rings games. They were released essentially verbatim on all three consoles. So there's really not much to say. Once you've played one of them, you've played them all. Personally, I like the PS2 over all three of them. But that's just my opinion. And we have the Third Age. Again, this, of course, is only one disc because it's PS2. Now, there was one game very unique to the PS2, and it will get ported to other consoles later, and that was Aragorn's Quest. Aragorn's Quest follows the same types of games as the other ones. It's a sort of adventure-based hack-and-slash type game, but you're following the adventures of Aragorn, essentially. I like it. It's not bad. It came out on a few other consoles, as you're going to see. It never actually made its way to the Xbox, but it did go to Nintendo. And of course, we have finally in my opinion, the awful version of The Hobbit, which I actually have the card that came with it in this one, which is cool. Forgot I even had that. Okay, and lastly, again, nothing to say here, but all of these games were also released on the original Xbox. And the Xbox, unlike the GameCube, did release the first one, which is the Fellowship of the Ring. Again, following essentially the Peter Jackson movies. They even have the same actors on the cover. There's Viggo Mortensen right there. If you haven't watched The Lord of the Rings, I don't know where the hell you've been living for the last, when those movies came out, early 2000s. They are fantastic movies. Personally, my favorite is always The Fellowship because I seem to have a bias. Third Age. For the first movie of any series. That's just always the way with Star Wars, Indiana Jones, anything. I always tend to like the first one. And lastly, the crappy version of The Hobbit. Some people love The Hobbit. You're going to find some actual people who really enjoy it. I do have the manual. This is apparently a receipt from whoever owned it before me. They actually paid $10. I did not pay $10. Okay, now once those games are out of the way, we can get into the portable consoles, and this game was ported to other consoles, including the Game Boy Advance. Unfortunately, just like the other two games, there's nothing to see here. They released the identical games. We have the Fellowship of the Ring. I like the box art, though. It's cool. It's not the Peter Jackson box art. It's a bit different. And I have these all in custom boxes with manuals. I'm not going to go open them all up because there's really nothing to see. But they had the Fellowship of the Ring. Now, for the Two Towers, they actually did go with the same cover as the other two games. Sorry, that creates a little glare with that. And they went with the same cover for the other ones too, which includes the Return of the King. There's Aragorn and Gandalf in front of the Black Gate. And here's the Third Age. Same cover as the other three consoles. And here's that fantastic version of The Hobbit if you wanted to play it portable. Nothing else to say about any of these, because there's not much to say. When we get to the next generation of consoles, they do not follow the movies anymore. The movies have now been, popularity's lessened, and the games shift, and you're going to see a really cool shift in games. While we're on portable consoles, let's stick with those. So there were 3 DS releases, and they're all relatively unique. The first one is Lord of the Rings Conquest. Now this game is actually pretty fun. You can play as orcs or the good characters, the elves and men. And essentially you can save Middle-earth or destroy it, which is exactly what it says. It's kind of funny, I didn't even read that right on the back of the thing there. It's more of a campaign builder type game where you have heroes, you can build them up. Personally, I like it. It's fun. It appeared on a few other consoles. You're going to get to see those momentarily. Now, they did port Aragorn's Quest from the popularity on the PS2. And my copy is also complete in case. The DS version is decent. I like it. It's definitely worth playing in my opinion. Now here's the first of a few games you're going to see on the next generation of consoles, and this was Lego Lord of the Rings. Now, my thoughts on the Lego games, and I'm going to be completely honest with you here. I do not like them. I tried them myself. I played them for a bit, especially the Hobbit one. Maybe it's just I don't like Lego games, although I did like Lego City Undercover. I just found the games very tedious, very boring. They are cool, but I don't know, they just weren't my cup of tea. Maybe some people liked them, I didn't. And you're going to unfortunately see a lot of Lego Lord of the Rings games. Now, staying on handhelds, there was another handheld that people seem to forget about, is the Sony PSP. Now, they released Aragorn's Quest as well, and I like it on the PSP. It is actually really fun, in my opinion. I love the PSP. I've emulated almost my entire library on the PSP of NES, Super NES, Genesis, and I love the PSP. I play it all the time, and I do own a number of games for it as well. This was a unique game, only out on the PSP. It's Tactics, a really interesting type game where you control the heroes. And what you need to do with the heroes as you're controlling them is you need to sort of move them different spaces to attack enemies, and you have to sort of do this in the most efficient way possible, hence the term Tactics. I really like it. It's a fun game. I definitely recommend it. Okay, so we're moving over now to the next generation of consoles. We'll start with the Wii because the Wii was the smallest library. The Wii only released 2 games, and I already mentioned them. There's Aragorn's Quest, which really caught on. Personal opinion, do not play the Wii version. It's bad. Play it on the PS2. Play it on the DS, but I would skip the Wii version. I do not like the controls on it. And Lego Lord of the Rings, again, also not my cup of tea. It plays the same way as it does on the other consoles that released it. So there's the Wii. Didn't do much, and it's going to get even smaller with the Wii U. The PS3 was very different now. They did keep one of their franchises, which was Aragorn's Quest, as I mentioned before. Again, a very good game still. I definitely recommend it on any console, but if you are going to play it on one, I really like the PS3 version. It wasn't on the Xbox 360. I should also point that Xbox never released Aragorn's Quest. Conquest, amazing game. Very much like the DS one, but much better, just because the graphics and gameplay, I like it way better. Okay, now we have some unique titles. 2 of these were released on both the Xbox 360, and one of them is very unique. First one is Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. Now this game is absolutely fantastic. I don't care which console you play it on. It is fantastic. If you get a chance to play Shadow of Mordor, I'll have some gameplay here. Check it out. It is amazing. And they also ported. They also had it on the PS4, Xbox One. Definitely play it. I have nothing more to say about it. It's fantastic. I can't even give it any. Just look at the game footage. This one also came out on the 360, and this is The War in the North. Okay. Now, my copy is currently sealed, and the reason it is because I played it on the 360, and I just never got around to playing it on the PS3. I'm going to assume the gameplay is relatively similar, although you can quote me in the comments if I'm wrong. All in all, really, really, really good game. I definitely recommend it. Check it out. We have a very unique game. This is Guardians of Middle-earth. Now, this was an online game only. This here was a pre-release that had a download code in it. So mine's sealed because I've never used it. I ordered this online. I can't comment on it. So if you want to comment on it, this is the one game I don't think I've played from The Lord of the Rings. Finally, again, we have a Lord of the Rings Lego. I don't like it. Yeah, I already said that. I'm not going to keep repeating myself. And now we got Lego Hobbit. And honestly, I like this one even less than I did the Lego Lord of the Rings. So, personal opinion. Don't quote me if you don't want to. I'm going to go quick here because the video is getting way longer than I anticipated it would. So, for the 360, we see similar releases. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor. Definitely check it out. Fantastic, fantastic game. Really like it. We have the awful Lego Lord of the Rings. God, this came out on every console, didn't it? They just love to play this one. Lego Hobbit, my opinion, it's horrible. Again, as you can see, I really like these games complete in case. So they got The War in the North as well. Came out on a number of different consoles. I like it. Fun game. Definitely give it a whirl. I'll post a bit of gameplay there for it. They had Conquest. Again, fantastic game in my opinion. Came out on PS3 as well. And the DS. And last but not least, a very unique title. Came out on the PC as well. So as far as I know, is Battle for Middle-earth 2. This game is a must-play if you like strategy games. This is one where very much reminds me of... I'm going to date myself here, like a Rome Total War game, where you are building up armies and, or Warcraft. You're building up armies, you're getting your towns built, your troops upgraded, and you're going and attacking other people. Now, the Wii U, there's not much to say. They released a Lego Hobbit, and it's bad. I actually don't have the manual. Oh, no. The one that doesn't. Okay, we're getting really close to the end here. The Vita released both awful Lego Hobbit and Lego Lord of the Rings games. I don't own a Vita, so I never played them, but I'm going to assume they play the same. These are hard to find. Vita games in general are really hard to find, and these ones are very, very hard to find. Took me a while to find these. I actually think I went online because, and I don't have the manuals for them, because I just couldn't get them. And the 3DS was lovely enough to give us the Lego Lord of the Rings and the Lego Hobbit. Now, the last consoles to release games were the Xbox One and the PS4. Now, again, they're all the similar. We have Shadow of Mordor, and we have Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition. They also had a Lego Hobbit. I don't own that. It's one of the ones I still haven't found cheap yet, is that one. And then the Xbox One, because they were so unique, did the same games. Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor Game of the Year Edition, and Lego Hobbit. Now, two games I'm missing. There was a collector's edition of War in the North for both the 360 and the PS3. As far as I know, they're generally the same. They came with like an art book. They came with a quiver, custom Lord of the Rings quiver. They were in a big box. I've never seen them out in the wild. I don't own them. I actually haven't even seen them at like stores. I'll put some pictures of them up here. If you have one and you want to trade for something, I would love to do that, because those are the only things left in my Lord of the Rings game collection besides the Lego Hobbit for the PS4 that I'm still looking for. This video took way longer than I thought. Thanks for staying with me. Really, really appreciate it. Next time I will do a Lord of the Rings collectibles video showing just the other things I have. VHSs, puzzles, board games, anything like that. That video might even take longer. So again, thanks for following. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I would love to get some more followers. If you have a gaming channel or anything to do with Lord of the Rings channel, please comment below and I will definitely follow back or subscribe back. And please follow me at Team G Sale. I'll put it below on Instagram if you are on there as well. Thanks again for listening. Have an awesome, awesome time. Evening. Good night.